film is considered to have its own language. James Monaco, a famous film critic, in his book wrote, that is in his book How to Read Film, wrote a classic text on film's theory that was titled How to Read Film. See, every discipline of art has its own special language to communicate the meaning, and it is the language of cinema that actually it differentiates from other modes of visual culture, and film employs the language of storytelling. This is the difference. Film employs the language of storytelling. So the signs, the symbols and the frames are actually the different codes which are used to convey ideas to the audience. So apart from the codes of storytelling, the use of even computer generated special effects like kinetic action sequence and intensified soundtracks have emerged as independent and autonomous elements which add to the pleasure of watching films. If you see, the camera frame of the movie actually determines what we see and how we see it. So the objects and elements within the camera frames and the process of editing the cinematic images convey a literal or denotative meaning. So what is literal or denotative meaning? The process of editing the cinematic images that conveys a literal or denotative meaning, as well as the connotative or implied meaning. And Lev Kuleshov, this which we have already studied in the beginning class, he is a Russian and Soviet filmmaker and the founder of world's first film school, the Moscow Film School. Lev Kuleshov is the founder of world's first film school called the Moscow Film School. He proposed that each camera shot works like the letters of the alphabet, which we can decipher just like the words we understand. And according to Christian Metz is also a French film theorist. We have already discussed this. I believe you'll be familiar with his name, Christian Metz, French film theorist. So, to him, the language of film is not drawn from the concrete or fixed language structure. He refers to this as language sans langue. So, what is this? Which means film is a language without a language system. So, film is a language without a language system. And film also belongs to the family of arts because of its auditory and visual form. So, both film and literature have common intention. One makes us to imagine through the mind, the other to see visually. The language can be defined as a semiotic. This is language, not film language. Literary language can be defined as a semiotic process through which a thought or idea will be conveyed. The film language is determined by the mise-en-scene, cinematography, editing and sound. What are the four language of film? Mise-en-scene, cinematography, editing and sound. What is mise-en-scene? Mise-en-scene is putting into the scene. So it's a French term, and if we translate that into English, it means putting into the scene. That is mise-en-scene. So putting into the scene, which indicates its origin from the theatre. That is the setting, props, costume, lighting and action, or the various elements which the director consciously arranges within the camera frame. The French theorist, philosopher and essayist Andrea Bazin, which we discussed now, authorship essay we discussed, Andrea Bazin in his essay The Evolution of Languages of Cinema advocates that film, even though mechanical in nature, transfers the real world into the screen. That is his definition. He says film transfers the real world into the screen. So, film and literature have common intention. The one may make us see things visually through the eye, and the other actually imaginatively through the mind. So while literature is observed through the mind's eye, a film actually directly engages various senses. So language is, as I said, is a semiotic process through which thought may be conveyed. And the language of cinema and the language of literature, they both use two different modes of expression. So in this sense, literary language is the set of messages whose means of expression is writing. So how do writers express their thoughts? They express their thoughts through writings. On the other hand, if you see, cinematic language is actually the set of messages whose means of expression consist of 5 tracks or channels. It is a moving photographic image, recorded phonetic sound, recorded noises, recorded musical sound, and writing. So these are the 5 tracks that are used in cinematic language. So this is the basic difference. So thus, cinema is a language in the sense that it is a technico-sensorial unity. And if you see, both film and fiction are linguistic phenomena, so founding themselves on the basic concept of design. It is both use the signifiers to connotate a world of meanings, that is the signified. So both film language and literary language use signifiers to connotate. So what are signifiers? You know, signifiers are the sound images. So in film, if you see, the signifiers are, we consider the sound as a signifier, music as a signifier, image as a signifier. So they use these signifiers to connotate a world of meanings, that is signified. So both words and images are sets of signs that belong to different systems. And another film critic, Raymond Bellow, he is a French film critic. To Raymond, he points out the differences of these two media in this way. That is, the film text, unlike the literary text, is not quotable. So film text, repeat, is unlike the literary text, is not quotable, whereas literature and literary criticism, they both share the same medium, words, and film analysis, they do not have this. And let us now discuss meaning production, how meaning production takes place in both film and literary works. So meaning production takes place in the interrelations of different codes used in the performance. So meaning production takes place in the interrelations of different codes used in the performance. While literary language selects and combines phonemes and morphemes to form sentences, film selects and combines images and sounds to form syntax. So the narrative segments of a film language or the sequences of shots are called syntagmas, and they are to be structured or stitched together in the way that enhances the flow of a film and generates the realism that is necessary for the audience to maintain or watch or understand the movie. So by arranging the shots, the directors decide how that story is going to speak to the outside world. The organization of images into a narrative is one of the most important ways that film is like a language. So film's huge and durable popularity is owed to what is most obviously shares with the novel. So film tells stories that could be conveyed in the language of words, but it tells them differently. So this is the basic difference. Film also tells stories that could be conveyed in the language of words. See, after watching a movie, sometimes you used to share or tell the story to your friend. So it is conveyed in the language of words, but it tells them differently. It It is as a storyteller that film found its greatest power and its largest audience. So the narrator in a novel controls only the verbal track, while in film literary narration it is a complicated one by two parallel and intersecting forms of narration. It is the verbal narration, whether it may be through voiceover or speech of characters, and also the film's capacity to show the world and its appearances. So films thus they tell both stories and stage them. And also if you see, film has the ability to employ slow motion, time lapse, and most essentially montage techniques that have no fictional equivalent. So all these are the techniques that are used in films which we never find in literary text, any literary text. The montage techniques like editing, fast forward, slow motion, all these techniques. So cinema takes place in time, and time is the ultimate syntax of film. Readers of literature can slow down and ponder, and they can even flip back and forth and always have the speeches and adjectives to build up the novels they read, while film must roll forward at a particular rate.